With Zenless going through its current beta test and the developers dropping some major news and information on HEYGRIMY Lab, I think it was the perfect time for me to go ahead and go over said news since I didn't get into the beta test, which I'm not completely mad about, but it would have been nice to get into that beta test. But today we're going to be discussing it. If you are new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, stay notified when I upload as we get into today's video. So when discussing Zenless Zone Zero, we actually have a lot to talk about. The first thing we're going to talk about is the combat of the game. Now the combat of Zenless basically gives me that Kingdom Hearts vibe, the hack and slash type feel. And it also adds like a little bit of storm elements with the switch mechanic. But the best thing about the game is that from what I've seen is that they have like different types of classes. And those classes are attack, stun, anomaly, defense, and support. Now most of these classes are pretty much self-explanatory, but the one that sticks out the most is anomaly, because basically it's this game's answer to like status effects. It's this game's version of status effects, which are always good in a game like this. It kind of brings out the Genshin element to it, because back in Genshin you had certain elements that would leave certain status effects and that will deal damage over time, so that's also a good thing to have. Not only that, but you can also use like little different bangaroos to actually co-op with like your team and do some significant damage, some crazy damage at that. But not all bangaroos can do this, because it's got to be one that's linked to a certain character or linked to that specific combo chain. And I think that's a pretty unique way of having the bangaroos actually do something in the game outside just being like something that the main characters or the protagonist characters uses to see what's going on in New Eridu City. But that's just my take on it. What you guys think about that? Moving on to the next section. Alright, so let's move on to the overall fixes and changes that they have to the game, starting with two new functions that they have with the workbench called Holocodex and Phaeton's Archive. Now, the Holocodex seems like they're just basically like giving you this function that records all types of events that you've been through during the game, and they give you like these little coins or medallions that will basically mark off certain things that you've accomplished in said game, and possibly will be your guide in the future if you deal with certain types of trouble that you just can't get past. Next we have Phaeton's Archive, which seems like it's just going to be basically your hollows, your people, like not random civilians, but like other human-like enemies that you've beaten along the way, and it will tell you their resistances and their basic what works best against them. Another thing is, one of the biggest complaints was the TVs, and I'm happy to say that the TVs have an accelerated playback. Basically, this function would allow people to speed up the process exploring into the hollows before getting into the actual hollow to actually start the fun part of the game, the gameplay. And this was actually a much needed improvement, because a lot of people did not like the hollows, well, like the going into the hollows doing the little TV mission, because it would take up most of the gameplay time of them playing it, and they would have like, it'll be more hollows getting into the hollow time than it was being actually playing the game. So that's actually a much needed change. Now we can move on to the little conventional handbook, which is basically just going to be used for stuff like potential quests, like little special challenges and stuff, which is not really too crazy, not too really big. I kind of figured something like this would be into the game. Next we have the changing of the day cycle. Now the changing of the day cycle meaning basically you can change the time of day, which also means you'll have different mission potential. Like sometimes you'll have some in the early morning, sometimes you'll have some like in the midday, then you'll have some evening, and then you have some at night. And so this could also mean like mission specific time periods. So that'll be kind of cool. You can probably do either one at night, you can do some in the morning. You'll have to meet certain characters in order to get certain missions, talk to certain NPCs to get certain missions, and some of these NPCs only show up in those certain time periods. So that's actually another cool way of incorporating That I really do like that. But that's gonna do it for this video, guys. How do you guys feel about Zenless Zone Zero? Do you think it's gonna be the next big gacha game that's gonna take over? You think you're gonna play it? Do you think you're just gonna play it for a little bit then drop it? What do you guys think? I've been Astra. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, stay notified when I upload, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.